Hi, Noah the Movie Slinger here with a review of Mandy. So Mandy is directed by Panos Cosmatos and stars Nic Cage as Red Miller and Andrea Riseborough as Mandy Bloom. Red is a lumberjack and Mandy is an artist. They are living a peaceful life, they got a nice place in the woods, and then a bunch of crazy cultists ride into town. Their leader Jeremiah becomes infatuated and obsessed after seeing Mandy. The cultists break into Red's house, they abduct Mandy, and the rest of the movie is pretty much a revenge tale as Red goes after the cultists. The cultists are all despicable characters. They are wild, especially the leader Jeremiah Sands, played by Linus Roach. He's got this hippie Robert Plant look to him. There's an old lady who's like a witch type character. There's two creepy dudes who are like the Muscle, and there's also a priest. Their performances were exactly what the movie needed for the audience to hate them, so that when they abduct Mandy, we're fully on board for Nic Cage to freak out all over them. And freak out he does. He does it so well. He was the actor to play this role. It's not just entertaining to watch Nic Cage freak out, he's actually very good in this. There's even a few scenes where he dials it down. He breaks down and starts crying. He shows a softer side, and I think that's because of the strong direction. This director knows how to utilize Nic Cage, and Cage gives a very gripping performance. There's also a bit of a transformation of his character in the final act. You could say he becomes a righteous infliction of retribution manifested by an appropriate agent. Nic Cage himself talked about this during a panel discussion, and he said he becomes almost like a Jason Voorhees type character from the point of view of the bad guys, and that is a good description. In the final act, he doesn't even seem to move, but he just suddenly appears. You know Jason, he never runs but somehow he can catch you. Like that. This movie had some horror elements, but the creepiest thing is Andrea Riseborough as Mandy. There's a few scenes where she's looking right at the screen. It felt like she was staring into my soul. Speaking of creepy things, there's this biker gang. Now I don't want to spoil anything, but holy shit, these bikers. They look like the guys from Slipknot, and the movie is very vague on what they are. They're introduced with a supernatural aura, and we're never sure if they're some kind of demonic force or if they are real people. The movie explains later on, but when you see them, they're like the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and they presented a huge challenge for Nic Cage's character to overcome. So definitely a great addition to this weird movie. There's also Bill Duke as a friend of Red. He helps Red with some weapons. You know, when I saw him, I wished he would have joined Nic Cage on his quest. That could have been cool. Let's talk about cinematography and editing. Every shot feels deliberate and meticulously thought out to make sure it fits the mood at any given moment and reflect what the characters are going through. Early scenes with Red and Mandy together are very calm and soothing. There's a lot of bright lights and rich colors like greens and blues. It has a peaceful, dreamlike feeling. When the cult members are on screen and performing their rituals, it's almost always shot with a purple filter to create this drug-induced trance-like state. It's like all the color has faded from the picture. It's confusing and it's trippy. When Nic Cage goes into rage mode, there's a lot of fiery reds and orange, very incendiary, and perfect to bring out the best of Nic Cage. The editing is sublime. There's an amazing scene where they do a reverse shot of Mandy and Jeremiah. It's a POV shot, so they're both looking right at the camera. The filmmakers play with the editing to blend one face into the other. It's a crossfade that's perfectly timed so that you're never sure where one shot ends with Mandy's face and the other one begins with Jeremiah. The action and violence, while gory, never felt excessive. That, I believe, is due to clever editing. We see Nic Cage swing his weapon. We see after the weapon has landed, but we never see that in-between shot. Instead, we complete that image in our heads. Now that's clever filmmaking. A movie like Only God Forgives, which has a similar visual style, shows that in-between shot. It focuses directly on it, which makes it very difficult to sit through. It feels excessive, like the director is jerking off at all the gory violence. Fortunately, director Panos handled these scenes like a pro. There are some great action sequences in this movie. That chainsaw fight in particular was beautifully choreographed. Nic Cage uses a chain, and I remembered, hey, he used to be Ghost Rider. I'm telling you, man, if they did another Ghost Rider movie with Nic Cage, I'm gonna watch that. The last two movies may have sucked, but I'm gonna watch that. Hey, maybe they can get Panos to direct it. Make it happen, Marvel. The scene where Nic Cage is using his axe to fight the leader of the bikers was super cool. His axe kinda looks like the Leviathan axe in God of War. It looks badass. There's even a cool montage sequence when he's forging it. The score by Johan Johansson is beautiful. It reminded me of Blade Runner 2049 sometimes. Now that doesn't mean it doesn't fit Mandy. It perfectly complements the trippy visuals. So, conclusion. The filmmakers have used the cinematography and editing to evoke this surreal, dreamlike feeling in the visuals. And some of the sequences in this movie, you could take screenshots and make a graphic novel out of it. You don't even need dialogue. That's how strong the visual storytelling is in this movie. The movie also doesn't explain everything. There's a lot of vague images they show sometimes. There's even a few animated sequences that are used to transition from one act to another. There's some parts that reminded me of Heart of Darkness or Dante's Inferno. This feeling that our protagonist is descending into chaos and destruction and just plain insanity. I'm pretty sure I didn't understand most of it, but the images are so striking that I feel like they're still burned into my mind. The pacing is slow and deliberate. It's perfect for this movie, but the slow pace combined with the surreal imagery and violence might turn off some people. So I can't recommend this to everyone, and this is definitely not for kids. So if you're a fan of graphic novels or art house films, then this is highly recommended. Or if you're like me and you're a fan of Nic Cage, you have to watch this. I wasn't expecting this movie to be so good. I just wanted a crazy Nic Cage movie. That's where I came from. Mandy makes excellent use of Nic Cage, who is a national treasure by the way. The performances are great across the board. I've already gushed over the visuals, the music and the action. Mandy is an entertaining revenge tale where we the audience is fully on board with the protagonist. It's so satisfying to watch him go after the bad guys. Now, I don't think this movie is out in theaters yet. I'm not even sure if this will ever play in Sri Lankan theaters. You can stream it online right now, but I will give this my highest rating, hoping by some miracle it will get a release in theaters. And if it does, I'm gonna go watch it a couple of times, and you should watch it too. It's worth it. So, have you guys seen Mandy yet? If you have, what did you think about it? And what's your favorite Nic Cage freakout scene? Mine is the one from Face Off. Please leave your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe. Movie Slinger out.